Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Combating Cancer. My name is Gwen Kelly, and I'm your host. For those of you who are new here, I was diagnosed with stage 3 astrocytoma brain cancer at the age of 19. I started this podcast because I wanted to create a space that's real, a space that's honest, raw, and faith-filled, where people who are fighting, healing, grieving, or caring for someone can come and know that they're not alone, because cancer is a terrible disease. It's cruel, it changes everything, but it doesn't have to take away our ability to connect or to love deeply through it. A few weeks ago, I met a kind gentleman. He told me about his wife who's been diagnosed with cancer and how he's been trying his best to take care of her. And he said something that hit me right in the heart. He said, "I don't know what else to say anymore. Gwen, I feel like I've said everything." He wasn't talking about simple encouragements like, "You've got this," or "You're so strong." He means the heavy parts, the research, the hospital runs, the advocating, the endless worrying, and still feeling like he's falling. And that stopped me because I've been on the other side of that conversation. And I remember saying those same words. "You'll never understand. You're not the one with cancer. You're not the one with a tumor in your head. That's me." And it brought me back to when I was first diagnosed. I was sitting in an office trying to figure out my school credits, and I remember this woman said, "Oh my gosh, you poor thing. I don't know how you're doing it." And I remember saying, "Honestly, I'd rather it be me than anyone else in my family." And she stopped, and you would have thought that I said the bravest thing ever, the most selfless thing ever. But to me, it wasn't bravery, it wasn't selfless, it was the truth, because once you've seen what cancer does, you'd never want someone you love to feel that pain. But what I didn't understand back then was that my family was feeling it, every second of it. Maybe not physically like I was, but emotionally, spiritually. They were carrying their own kind of pain. Every time they sat in a waiting room, pretending to be calm. Every time they smiled when they wanted to cry. Every time they watched me walk out of an MRI room holding my breath for results. They were going through it too. And as patients, we need to recognize that, because cancer doesn't just happen to the person with the diagnosis. It happens to everyone who loves them. And sometimes we forget that. We're the ones with the scans, the treatments, the nausea, the pain. So it's easy to think we're the only ones suffering. But our loved ones are carrying it right beside us. They're holding their breath every day too. And when we say things like, "You don't understand," or "You'll never get it," it hurts them, because deep down, they know they can't fix it, and that helplessness is already tearing them apart. So no, they won't always say the right things. They might say something awkward or try to cheer us up when we don't want to hear it, but it's coming from love, from a desperate place of wanting to make it even a little easier. And we have to give them grace for that. They're learning too. And the more I talk about this, the more emotional I get. I don't know if you guys can hear it in my voice, but I just have the utmost appreciation for my family, because the more and more I do podcasts and episodes and speak with different people, the more I realized how much they were there for me and just how thankful I am, because I really just had the best people by my side while I was going through one of the hardest moments of my life. But before I get too emotional and cry on here, because I don't like to do that, I'll continue the conversation. So when I was talking to that man, it really shifted something in me. It reminded me that while I'm walking through cancer, my family, my friends, my caregivers, they're walking through their own version of it right beside me. They might not have the tumor, but they carry the fear, they carry the what ifs, they carry the constant ache of watching someone they love fight for their life. And we, those of us in treatment or remission, we owe it to them to acknowledge that, to say, "I know this is hard for you too," to say, "Thank you for showing up even when it's painful." That acknowledgement matters, because it tells them they're seen. It tells them their pain counts too. So to every caregiver, spouse, parent, or friend listening right now, this part is for you. I know that you're exhausted. I know that there are nights you hide in the bathroom and cry because you don't want them to see you fall apart. I know you feel guilty for being tired and for wishing, even for just a second, that life could go back to feeling normal. And you're not selfish for that feeling. You're human. And your love, even when it's messy, even when it's unsure, it's enough. If you ever find yourself not knowing what to say anymore, I've thought about a couple of things that I feel like truly makes a difference. And the first one is to be honest. It's okay to say, I don't know what to say anymore, but I'm here. Sometimes your quiet presence says more than 100 perfect words ever could. And, another thing is ask how they want to be loved that day. Every day is different when you're going through treatment. Some days we want to talk and some days we need silence. Asking, do you want me to sit with you today? What would you like to talk about? Gives us control back in a world that's taken so much of it away. And show up in small ways. And when I say small ways, I don't mean just, sending words of encouragement. Bring their favorite coffee. Sit through a treatment with them, watch a funny show together, bring up those inside jokes that you guys had from years ago, tell an old story about how you and this person used to be friends and something crazy you guys did on a night out to bring laughter and joy. And those normal things help us feel like people again, not just patients. And be gentle, not perfect. You don't have to say all the right things. You just have to mean them. Love that's sincere, even if it's clumsy, is still love. And another thing that I want to point out too is pray with them. I remember there were so many times when people would ask if they could pray with me. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, can I pray with you? And I was like, yeah, sure, I would love that. And I would just immediately be sobbing because, they would take my hands and they would say, I really ask God to please provide Gwen with peace and comfort and let her know that God knows everything that's going to happen to her in her life, and just provide her with that comfort and remove that fear, because that fear is not from you, Lord, and just continue to allow her to search for you and grow her relationship with you. And I would just be sobbing and sobbing and sobbing. But it really works. And I just encourage that. Just pray with them. You also have to give yourself permission to rest. You can't carry someone else if you collapse under the weight. You got to take time for yourself. You need to rest. You need to cry. And you need to take a breather, because we can't help someone if our tank is fully on empty, right? So you have to have those days where you feel all the feelings that you've been hiding from the loved one that's dealing with cancer, and have them. I'm not saying you need to have them in front of them. You can have them separately somewhere else, or talk to one of your friends somewhere else, or go into therapy. And that's healthy. That needs to happen. And for those of us fighting cancer, we need to do our part too. We need to remember that our loved ones are in this just as deeply. They don't have all the answers. They won't always say the right thing. They're trying. They're not out there trying to offend you. They're not. They love you, and they want to do what's best for you, and they want to support you, and they want to be there for you. We can't expect perfection from people who are watching the person they love most walk through something that terrifies them. They're just doing the best they can, just like we are doing the best we can when we're fighting through cancer. So when they stumble over their words, or try hard to make us laugh, or say the wrong thing, maybe we can choose grace instead of frustration, because they're scared too. They're just loving us the best way they know how. And I've got scans coming up, and yeah, I've had some headaches and some blurry vision. And in the past, I would have spiraled, but I'm not doing it this time, because God already knows what those scans will show. He already knows the number of my days. Whether that's years from now or tomorrow, He knows. And because of that, I can rest and I can breathe. And will I still have those sleepless nights sometimes? Yeah. But am I accepting that this is going to be my future? No, I'm accepting that God knows my plan for me, and I'm going to live every single day walking with Christ. So to anyone listening, whether you're fighting cancer or loving someone who is, please look around. See the people who still show up, the ones who sit beside you in silence, the ones who listen to your fears and still choose to stay, the ones who may not say all the right things, but whose love never wavers. And if you've already come through the hardest parts, reach back and say thank you. Tell them you saw their strength too. Because healing isn't just physical, it's emotional, it's relational, it's shared. So thank you so much for tuning in to Combating Cancer. If this episode spoke to your heart, whether you're the patient or the caregiver, I hope you know this. You're not alone. You're doing better than you think. And the love you give, even when it feels imperfect, is what keeps us all going. Until then, I will chat with you guys all next Wednesday.